Hope I'm audible. Okay, thank you then. Okay, fine. Okay, so welcome to the session on Snowflake. Okay, so I hope you people have attended data engineering. Workshop. The last week, right? Okay, some of you, I hope. Okay. So now, in this session, let us try to understand about Snowflake. Okay, so what is the importance of Snowflake and why Snowflake? So why we need to use Snowflake despite we are having some other kind of cloud vendors or cloud platforms here? Fine. Okay. So let me know how many of you attended the AD session last week. I just want to know. Okay, so I see some of the similar kind of names. Last week. Fine. Uday, of course, I know. Know you. Okay, fine. So any one of them? Fine. Okay. So let me ask you one question, guys. Okay. So are you people, any of you, okay, so who was working on data engineering or any of the cloud, Azure cloud or AWS cloud? Any one of you? Are you working? I just want to know. I'm okay. What kind of technology you're working on and what exactly is the nature of your work? I just want to know that one. So, okay, fine. If not on Azure, if not on AWS, any other, okay, so who is working on, any kind of real-time experience. If you're working on as an ETL developer, BI, developer, or any other kind of testing, professional, whatever it is. Yes. Because I just want to understand you people, guys. Okay, so, why do you want to learn Snowflake? Okay. If you people won't answer, I'll ask you one by one. Okay. Fine. Okay, so let us start with Ashish. Fine. So Ashish, can you tell me about yourself? No, that's okay, Uday. Okay, so Ashish, okay. So everyone I'll ask you, don't need not worry. Okay. So Ashish, can we start with you, please? See, the only concept, see, the only question or the only this thing is I want to know, have you working in any of the IT industry, like so for example, any kind of platform on ETL or BI or any kind of analytics or whatever it is. That is the reason I'm asking you. Okay. So Vivek Kumar, you're a fresher. That's okay. Fine. Guys, see, if you open up and if you ask me certain questions, right, only then I can help you guys. Okay, so merely attending different kinds of demos and not sticking to any one of them will not lead you any kind of thing, will not reap you any kind of benefits here. Okay. Okay. So are you working anywhere, Ashish, or are you fresher or any kind of experienced professional working on any kind of platform or whatever it is? Okay. Okay. No problem. No problem. Fine. So, Mrutyunjaya Sarangi. So, what about you?
Hi.
Hi.
Uh, I'm working in IT industry from last 7 years. That too in data warehouse profession. So
So,
I want to learn something about this cloud data warehouse concept.
uh-huh.
Mm.
Okay, okay. So working as
Working as data warehouse means I'm working on ETL tool data stage.
data stage. Okay, nice, nice, nice. Okay, fine, fine. Okay. So what do you want to move to Snowflake?
Now means all are moving into cloud only. As so I want to learn about this technology regarding this cloud data warehouse concept, how it is working out for that reason.
Okay, okay,
So,
nice.
and anyway, to change my career also over the same
Mhm.
technology 7 to 8 years for that reason also.
Okay, okay, fine, fine. Thank you. Okay, so Satish Adepu, you're already working on Oracle, need to expose. Okay, fine. So how many years of experience you're having in Oracle? 3 years, that's great. Fine. So what about others, guys? Praveen Jadhav, Sandhya K, and others. Shyam Prasad, Shezad Siddiqui. So you can even type in if at all you don't want to answer or if at all you don't want to speak.
Hello, so my name is Shezad. I've
Yeah,
been
hi, Shezad.
working with databases and data warehousing for a while, and now my company is moving to Snowflake. So I thought, let's go and learn a little bit about that.
Okay.
And I
So,
have some cloud experience also with AWS.
okay. So is your company moving to Snowflake or are you already into any kind of other kind of cloud platforms like AWS, Azure, like that?
No company has moved into Snowflake. I'm
Okay.
working, but mostly what I'm doing is writing SQL and stored procs. So that's what I'm doing, but I want to learn more.
Okay. Okay.
So look at the possibility, what the software can do and where we can go from
Okay. Okay. That's nice. Thank you.
here.
Fine. Okay. So what about others, guys? I mean, Praveen Jadhav and Sandhya K. I hope you people have not answered. So just let me know. Shyam Prasad again. Fine. Okay. Yeah. Hi, Shyam Prasad. So are you working anywhere? Okay. So you're a fresher. Fine. Fine. No problem. Okay. Fine. So, okay. So Praveen Jadhav and Sandhya K. I mean, okay. So opening for freshers are good. I mean, okay. So you do have a lot of openings of for freshers. I mean, especially in the field of database and this data warehousing. So because today there is lack of professionals in this field. I mean, so who can handle huge volumes of data here. Okay, fine. So guys, I mean, please, I mean, so Praveen Jadhav and Sandhya K. So what about you? You can even type in if at all you don't want to answer. I mean, if you don't want to speak, I mean to say. Okay. Okay, I don't know. Fine. So, okay, fine. No worries. So we'll start off with this. Okay. So before we start off with this Snowflake, I mean session, right? Okay. So let me introduce about myself. Okay, so my name is Vamshi, and I'm a working professional with around 14 plus years of IT experience. And I'm actually working as an AI researcher. And as part of my experience, right, I already worked on data engineering and data science kind of roles and architectures here. Okay, so I even worked as a senior architecture in some for some couple of clients. I mean, okay, so for different clients across the globe. So, let us not, boast about myself, and let me dive into the concepts here. Okay. Yes, you mentioned that we can have good opportunities with ADE plus Snowflake.com in the last week session. Yes, of course, I'll tell you. Now, before that, you need to understand what exactly is Snowflake and why today organizations are moving to Snowflake. Okay, so what is the need for this one? Okay, so this is a new concept, right? Okay, so first of all, let me tell you about these things now. Okay, now as you people know about the traditional kind of architecture, right? So traditional data warehouse kind of architecture. So most of you are working professionals here, and some of you even are freshers. Okay, so you people can easily understand. Okay, now let me tell you about the traditional kind of architecture here. I don't want to, see, let us discuss about the pros and cons of this one. So then we can, like dive deep into Snowflake kind of architecture here. So why we require all these kind of things again? Okay. So what is the need of Snowflake? Everything we'll be looking at here. Okay. Now, let me give you some introduction. Okay, so starting with the traditional IT computing kind of things here. Okay, so even before we move to the data warehousing kind of architectures. Now, let's say, for example, so in the traditional kind of computing kind of thing, right? Okay, so like on premises, even you, if you take it, okay. So on premises is something, so where we maintain all the infrastructure physically in our office premises. Okay, so that is what we come, we call it as on-premises, right? Okay. So now what happens with on-premises kind of things here, guys? Okay. So on-premises has like, say, for example, certain disadvantages with this kind of, modeling. Okay. So whatever you call it as, okay. So the drawbacks are many, like say, for example, we incur huge expenditure costs. Okay. So capital costs in terms of infrastructure costs. Okay. So because see, we need to, we'll be responsible for maintaining, okay, so managing and running the different kinds of IT infrastructure here, whether it is storage, whether it is different kinds of servers, whether it is cables. Different kinds of IT infrastructure here. Okay, and apart from that one, the other kind of disadvantages are, so there can be data thefts or data hacks. Okay, and moreover, like for example, whenever it comes to the case of storage kind of solutions, right? Okay, so we do have a limited kind of roles here. Okay, so in terms of on-premises, again, the other kind of things is we might have to shell huge amounts of money from our pocket. The organizations. Okay, so in order to, come up with some kind of scalability kind of features and even storage kind of techniques also. Okay, so these are some of the factors. Okay, so which through which the organizations are moving or adopting cloud practices here. Okay, so because see, one major advantage of cloud is that we can reduce huge IT infrastructure costs, huge expenditure costs, because in cloud computing, what happens is we will not be responsible for maintaining or managing any of the IT infrastructure here. Okay, so either it can be anything. See, on cloud, anything is a resource here. Okay, so resource can be some kind of VM, it can be some kind of operating system, it can be some kind of storage medium, or it can be any other thing. Okay, so whatever it is. Okay, and the different kinds of applications, whatever you want to develop or build or even test or even deploy also. Okay, so all these are the different kinds of resources here. Fine. Now the model traditional kind of data warehouses, so there are different kinds of disadvantages with it. Okay, now if you look at here, okay, so what we do in traditional data warehouses is we normally extract the data from different kinds of data sources, and we like, for example, integrate all such kind of data in a common repository called as staging area. Okay, then after that one, what we do in staging area, we like, for example, transform this data as per our target system, whatever it is. Okay, and we apply some kind of transformation rules on the data. Okay, so finally we load the data into something called as data warehouse or enterprise data warehouse or target database, whatever people call it, through different names, right? Okay, so this is the approach of ETL kind of systems here. Okay, so extraction, transformation, and loading. Okay, so after that one, we maintain the data in some kind of OLAP cubes or some kind of data marts here. Okay, so which again will be, helpful in creating some kind of end user kind of analysis here. Okay, so end user kind of analysis in the sense, I can come up with some kind of reports and dashboards, or I can again consume this data for some further advanced analytics. Okay, or like say for example, some kind of data mining activities. Okay, so this is what your traditional data warehouse architecture is. But there are certain drawbacks with this kind of architecture. Now, like say for example, see whatever the data you're extracting here, right? Okay, so from the source systems. Now, the pitfall of this kind of thing is like everything you're integrating here. That's okay. Okay, fine. But again, as per the target data warehouse, whatever it is, okay, so you will be maintaining this in some kind of format, right? Either it can be some kind of Oracle, Teradata, or whatever it is. Okay, technically speaking. Okay. Now, like say for example, you will be converting this data, okay, so which will sync with this kind of target data warehouse, so that you will be applying some kind of transformation rules on this data. Okay. Now the pitfall of this one is here again you are maintaining the data in some kind of relational format only, right? Yes or no? So that like say for example, see what is the use case of your data warehouse especially. Okay, so that it will be helpful for you to perform some kind of analysis on the data. Okay, you can come up with some kind of insights on the data. That means, see, your data warehouse is especially intended for some kind of BI workloads or BI applications. Yes or no? So finally, the end result is that you will be coming up with some kind of insights from the data. Okay, you'll be preparing some kind of reports and dashboards. This is what you do, right? So that means your data warehouse applications are intended for some kind of analysis and some kind of BI workloads. That means it will be helpful to perform some kind of BI applications here. Okay, but like say for example, today if you look at it, right? Okay, so we are getting a lot of unstructured kind of data. Then what about that one? Where do you store that huge amounts of data here? Okay, and how do you manage that different kinds of data here? Okay, so because if you look at the unstructured kind of data, right? So today we are able to access or get the data in different formats here, especially the unstructured kind of data. Like say for example, your normal text files, like say for example, your notepad, your email data, your messaging platforms. Okay, so different kinds of media kind of data, like audio kind of data, video. Okay, so image format, social media kind of data. Okay, so smart systems like IoT kind of data, cloud data systems, or different kinds of apps. Okay, so people are connecting, or people will be using different kinds of devices, right, in order to access some kind of apps or applications. Okay, so that's how the data gets generated either. Okay, so likewise, so there are different kinds of applications through which the data is getting generated. Now, what about the case with such kind of data here? So that is why they have given it some kind of name called as big data, right? Huge volumes of unstructured kind of data there. Okay, so big data is actually a buzz name. Okay, so that is some kind of keyword. It's not an actually technical kind of technology kind of thing here. Okay, so how do you deal with that huge amounts of data? We're having different frameworks for that one. Okay, so like Horton Hadoop or Cloudera Hadoop kind of network, whatever it is. Okay, fine. Now, let me tell you, okay, see, in order to maintain those kind of things is, first of all, see why we are going for cloud, different organizations, why they're adopting for cloud practices here. So as I told you, the first reason is, in order to reduce huge IT infrastructure costs here. Okay, so it can be IT infrastructure cost, it can be IT expenditure cost. Okay, so it can be capital cost also, because what do you mean by capital cost here? In order to maintain that physical infrastructure, right, you incur some kind of electricity costs also, internet costs. Okay, again you will be maintaining, like say for example, you hire some kind of support staff here. Okay, so like say for example, the DBS or whatever it is. Okay, support engineers. Okay, you have to maintain them. Okay, so all these kind of things. Okay, so all these kind of costs, so those are called as capital costs. Okay, so that means you're, like say for example, you're investing, okay, in order to maintain all these kind of things, right? You're investing, you're managing all these kind of things. Okay, so that comes under a capital cost. In order to reduce this huge capital cost or infrastructure cost, this is the primary reason. Okay, so why organizations across the globe are adopting to cloud practices here. And moreover, likewise, if I tell you, right, there are many reasons actually. Okay, like say for example, now you could be able to, like say for example, buy some kind of product. Okay, so from some kind of web application which is hosted from somewhere across the globe here. Okay, so might be that is also one of the reason also. Okay, so especially, so likewise if you take it, right, so there are different kinds of examples. Okay, so why the organizations across the globe are adopting cloud practices here. And the other kind of reasons is storage. Okay. Now, if you look at the physical kind of infrastructure, right, your on-premises kind of infrastructure. Okay. So now, even if you don't require any part of the server, or like, say, for example, if you don't require, okay, so, or like, say, for example, if your application needs are enough, okay, so like it is occupying some kind of memory or some kind of computing resources, okay, then, like, say, for example, even if you don't require any kind of server, right, you need to maintain that particular kind of server 24/7, 365 days. Okay. So that means in order to run any of your workloads or any of your applications, right, so you require some kind of computing powers here. Again, you require some kind of, like, say, for example, all the physical infrastructure here. Okay. So for which again, you'll be shelling out some kind of money from your pocket here. Okay. So whenever you don't require any services in the traditional databases, you stop. Okay. So then that is the server has to continuously run 24/7, 365 days here. No, okay. You cannot stop here. But when it comes to the case of cloud practices, right? So you can pay for whatever the services you are using. Okay. So that is the, I mean, that is also the one of the main factor or the reasons actually why, I mean, organizations are adopting the cloud practices or why they are following the cloud kind of models here. Okay. Now, like, say, for example, so say, for example, now, but in Snowflake, right, you can stop the services whenever you require. So say, for example, to load huge volumes of data, if it is taking 20 hard disks, right? Okay. And when I don't require them, I can stop the services here in terms of Snowflake here. Okay. And even like, so for example, when it comes to the case of other cloud kind of cloud vendors also, I can perform the same thing. But again, you can ask me like, what is the difference between the other kind of cloud vendors and about Snowflake here? Okay. So like if I tell you about Snowflake, right? So first of all, Snowflake is some kind of software as a service kind of model here. It is not like your infrastructure services or like just like your platform kind of services. It is something, I mean, it is a modern cloud data warehouse. Okay. Especially it is, built for cloud practices only. I mean, unlike you, some other kind of softwares or some other kind of vendors, you don't have any kind of physical or on-premises kind of software here. Okay. It's exclusively designed for integration with other kind of cloud platforms, especially with the AWS, Azure, GCP, and these kind of things here. So it is a fully managed cloud data platform, okay, and doesn't has any kind of on-premises kind of features here, guys. Okay. So in other sense, I mean, you can consider it as some kind of data warehouse as a service, because see, Snowflake is considered as a modern cloud data warehouse. You can use Snowflake for different kinds of activities here on cloud. Let me tell you. Okay, so we'll discuss one by one here. So it's entirely, it entirely runs on public cloud infrastructure again. Okay. So even if you take AWS or even Azure, right? Okay. So there are public cloud platforms from, if you take Azure, okay. So it is public cloud platform from Microsoft. Again, AWS, it's public cloud platform, some kind of Amazon. Okay. So likewise, I mean, like, say, for example, if you take it Snowflake, right? Okay. Again, it is built on the same kind of concept here, especially in order for bulk loading kind of activities, in order for big data kind of activities. Okay, so huge volumes, data volumes here. And again, like, so for example, some kind of data engineering kind of activities and data science kind of applications here, and to build some kind of modern cloud data warehouse. Now, what do you mean by modern cloud data warehouse here? Okay, so let me show you something here. Sorry. Cloud data warehouse. Okay, so let me take it any kind of thing here. Okay, so cloud data warehouse, whatever you call it as. Okay. So if you look at the cloud data warehouse, right? Okay, so especially like, say, for example, now, you know, on premises, right? So on premises, something like, say, for example, you are maintaining it in your office premises. Okay, so like, say, for example, your SQL Server database or your big data kind of things, whatever it is. Okay, now what happens is, like, say, for example, as I told you, I'm getting data from disparate data systems here. Okay, so because today the data is getting generated using different kinds of formats here, and I require some kind of platform where I can integrate such kind of data. Okay, it can be structured, it can be semi-structured, it can be unstructured also. And apart from that one, Moreover, it can be any other kind of app kind of data also. It can be some kind of smart kind of devices or smart kind of systems also, or it can be any other kind of, data generations. Okay. So, I require some kind of platform. Okay. So where I can integrate all such kind of data here. Okay. And like, say, for example, the advantage of using Snowflake is nothing but like, say, for example, you can use this Snowflake for different kinds of activities here. Okay. So like, say, for example, you can, use Snowflake on top of your Azure or AWS or GCP kind of cloud vendors. Okay. So to perform your modern cloud data warehousing kind of applications, or you can build your data lake kind of platform, or even you can use it for your running some kind of data engineering kind of applications. Or like, say, for example, even you can use it for, with by coming up with some kind of prediction models. Okay. So where you can use it with some kind of data science applications, and even you can, like, say, for example, you can come up with other kind of data kind of apps also here. Okay. So Snowflake helps you perform all these kind of activities here actually. Okay. And after that one, again, you can use the data which is present here to serve for end user kind of activities. Okay. So that's up to you. It depends upon what kind of requirement you're having here. Okay. And the most kind of thing is, now, even if you take the case of AWS or Azure, right? Okay. So what you do, guys, initially, see, even like, for example, if at all you're going with considering AWS or Azure, okay, or GCP, whatever it is, first thing is, you, like, say, for example, you require some kind of computing resources, right? In order to run any kind of applications on cloud platforms like Azure or AWS, you require some kind of infrastructure. That means some kind of computing powers here. Okay. No, but again, Snowflake doesn't ask the separate kind of things here actually. Okay. Unlike your AWS or Azure, right? Okay. So it doesn't has any kind of the separate kind of layers here actually. Okay. Now, the moment you bring in the data, okay, automatically, like, say, for example, brings out, like, say, for example, it auto perform some kind of computing kind of concept here actually based upon the data workloads here. Okay. So because, see, especially your Snowflake is intended for huge volumes of data here, and depending upon what kind of volumes of data you're dealing with. Okay. So it automatically comes up with some kind of auto computing kind of powers here. Okay. And it, like, say, for example, you can perform some kind of activities here. And moreover, like, say, for example, now if you take the case of AWS or Azure or GCP, right? Okay. You're having different kinds of data services there, and you'll be using those kind of platforms. You'll be using different kinds of data services there. Like, say, you'll be coming up with different kinds of activities there. But coming to the case of Snowflake, right? With simple SQL queries, you can perform the job here actually. Okay. So you don't require any kind of, like, say, for example, you don't want to, like, for example, maintain separately as some kind of, if you look at the case of Azure family, right? Okay. So we'll be maintaining something in the format of Azure Blob Storage. Okay. Azure Data Lakes also, Azure SQL Database. Okay. So again, we come up with the concept of Azure Databricks. Again, there is a concept of Azure Synapse Analytics. Okay. So likewise, we don't require such kind of concept here. Okay. You can perform with, like, say, for example, the SQL queries kind of concept here. You can build whatever you want here actually. And finally, you can integrate it with any other kind of cloud vendors, or, like, say, for example, you can even bulk load. Okay. So bulk loading is nothing but, like, say, for example, batch processing. Okay. You might have heard about batch processing, right? Some of you are working as ETL developers. Okay. So you people will be normally working on some kind of batch processing, right? Okay. So sequential loading or batch processing kind of activities. Okay. So especially Snowflake is, used for those kind of activities, batch processing kind of activities. That means bulk loading of data. Okay. So bulk loading of data. And even with some kind of simple SQL queries, you can even, like, say, for example, capture the changed data also. Like in ETL kind of terminology, we call them as incremental loading or some kind of delta loading. Okay. So we call by these kind of names, right? Okay. So you can perform these activities with simple. Okay. So with very easily, we can perform these kind of activities here. Okay. So unlike in your traditional kind of ETL softwares, you don't need to worry about writing different kinds of expressions there and coming up with some kind of logic by using different kinds of transformations there. Okay. So you might have worked on different kinds of transformations, right? Okay. So, you'll be writing some kind of expression, some kind of logic. Okay. So you don't need to write, you don't need to worry about all those kind of things here. Okay. So with very simple kind of activities, you can perform all these kind of activities here, guys. Okay. So that is one of the main reasons, so why, I mean, especially the organizations are also adopting this kind of Snowflake kind of practices here. And moreover, if you compare the price kind of thing, right? Okay. So let me tell you, first of all, Snowflake is some kind of, cloud Dataverse kind of platform. It doesn't has any kind of platform services or some kind of infrastructure services. Okay. It's purely a data platform or a cloud database or a cloud data warehouse. You can consider this way. Okay. Or you can even consider it as some kind of data warehousing as a service. I mean, okay. But again, if you look at, like, for example, the different kinds of, the connectors, okay, so the different kinds of connectors, whatever it is, okay, so you can see there are different kinds of connectors. Integration, okay, so you can perform data integration, okay, so you can again perform some other kind of business intelligence activities, okay, so again you can come up with some kind of data science or ML kind of activities, okay, and again you can come up with some kind of data management kind of activities also using this Snowflake kind of architectures here. Okay, so only thing is, like, say for example, you need to know some kind of, there is some kind of SQL kind of concept here. So through which, so we'll be writing some kind of, everything will be managing and maintaining through the forms of some kind of SQL queries here actually. Okay. So again, if you go with other kind of softwares, right, your traditional on-premises kind of ETL kind of softwares, or your cloud data warehouse or cloud ETL kind of software like ADF. Okay, so when it comes to the case of Azure, it is ADF. Okay, again, if you look at AWS, right, okay, so it is Glue, Amazon Glue kind of software. Okay, so there again you perform the concept of data pipelines. Again, you perform the concept of transformations. Again, you come up with some other kind of activities here. Okay, so we don't require all such kind of things here using Snowflake. Okay, the primary reason is, like, so for example, it doesn't have separate kind of compute kind of engines or compute kind of services, unlike your AWS or Azure here. Okay, inbuilt, like, say for example, whenever you perform some kind of data loading kind of activities, right, so Snowflake comes up with auto kind of computing kind of resources here. Okay, so you don't need to worry about those kind of activities here, and you don't need to worry about separate kind of administration here. Okay, so unlike you perform some kind of admin activities in using AWS or Azure, right, okay, so you don't need to worry about those kind of activities here. Okay, so everything will be taken care internally by your Snowflake kind of things here. Okay, so as I told you, so this is one of the primary reasons, why, like, for example, your Snowflake, is popular now. Now, especially when it comes to the case of some kind of domains like healthcare, okay, so, or even, like, say for example, retail and banking, right, okay, so they are adopting this kind of Snowflake kind of architectures on top of your different kinds of cloud vendors here. Okay, so the other kind of reason is, using Snowflake, I can deal with huge amounts of data with reduced prices, with reduced computing prices. Now, like, say for example, let me tell you how these cloud vendors will charge you guys. So they will be charging you for the computing resources, right? Okay, so say for example, you require some kind of SQL database on Azure. Understand in this way. Okay, now, like, say for example, now when I configure that kind of SQL database, right, okay, so it will tell you like how many like, for example, what is the size you want actually. Okay, because see, it depends upon what kind of data volumes you're having, right? Okay, so based on that one, okay, so anyone will be charging you for those kind of database. Even it is the case with Amazon Redshift also. Even, like, for example, it is the same case with Google BigQuery also. Okay, so they will be charging you for those kind of activities here. Okay, now let us try to understand the architecture of Snowflake here. So when it comes to the case of architecture, right, when you're processing any kind of huge volumes of data, or, like, for example, when you're dealing with any other kind of query processing kind of things here, right? Okay, so mainly, if you look at the architecture, right? Okay, so here you have certain kind of things. Your architecture will be divided into these three layers here: database storage, query processing, and cloud services here. Okay, now let us try to understand one by one here. Okay, so these are the three different kinds of layers here. Okay, so when it comes to the case of data storage layer or a database layer here. Okay, so if you look at here, right? Okay, so you're having database storage or database layer also, people call it as. Okay, now whenever the data is loaded into the Snowflake, right? So the data is converted or split into multiple micro files, or, like, say for example, internally it works in this way. No, I hope, I mean, you people know the concept of Databricks, right? Okay, so I mean, like, say, for example, you might know the concept of Databricks, I don't know. But Databricks, like, okay, so it runs on Spark clusters here. Now, Spark clusters, what happens is there'll be multiple nodes here. That means on Spark, I mean, Spark will be working in this way. So here also, like, say, for example, when it comes to the case of data storage, right? Okay, so when the data is stored and when it is like, for example, it is processed, right? It will be processed using multiple cores and multiple nodes here. Okay, so that means each and every storage will be having multiple drivers here in order to process the data using multiple cores here. Okay, so that's how by this one, what happens is the data processing, whatever it will be, so it will be very faster. And like, for example, the final thing is, I mean, so it will be loading the data into something called as Amazon S3 bucket here. Okay, now the next phase is query processing layer. So in this layer, what happens is the SQL queries will be processed and executed. Now, like, say, for example, the data is stored in some kind of processing unit, right? So here the like, say, for example, it will create some kind of virtual warehouse. Okay, so where it will, like, say, for example, I mean, it will create some kind of computing resources here. Okay, so as I told you, it will be auto like, for example, performing all this kind of activities here. And like, say, for example, it will be processing each and every query here actually. Okay, so parallelly it will be processing all this kind of data here. So finally, I mean, when you look at this one, right? So the final kind of I mean, layer is cloud services here. Okay, so cloud services, it is also called as the brain of Snowflake. Okay, it is something. So sorry guys. So it is something like, for example, so it is used for different kinds of activities here in order to perform different kinds of user requests or different kinds of query processing here. Okay, so like, for example, so this like, for example, see, until here what you do is, like, for example, here there will be multiple virtual warehouses in order to handle the query request here. Okay, so that's how your query processing or query request will be very faster here. And after that one, what you want to do with this data actually, so again you can use some kind of components here actually in Snowflake. I mean, again you can deal with, or you can analyze the data in a quicker way, or you can deal with huge volumes of data, I mean, parallelly here actually. So this is how your architecture works in Snowflake. It's not like say, for example, even if you look at the case of AWS or Azure, right? Okay, so first you'll be, I mean, trying to figure out what is your computing resource here actually. So that means you'll be maintaining some kind of storage kind of layer here. Okay, so in Azure family, right, if you look at AWS or Azure, you create the concept of storage units there. Okay, or some kind of blob storage or data lake kind of storage here. Then after that one, what you do, you upload your files or you move data files into your Azure blob storage, whatever it is. Okay, then what happens, you use the concept of Azure Data Factory in order to come up with some kind of data pipelines. Then you will be moving the data from blob storage to some kind of data lakes or data bricks here. So this is what you perform in Azure, and even it is the same in AWS also. But here it is not the case actually. Okay, so whatever the data processing performs here, okay, so it will be handled parallelly. Okay, and that's how, like, for example, the query processing will be very, very faster here actually. Okay, sorry. So here what happens is, by that one, what happens is, I mean, the query processing will be handled in a faster way. And even, like, for example, so you can analyze the data in much more kind of things. And the computing, see, when it comes to the case of computing, right? So Snowflake doesn't come up with any kind of separate kind of computing layer. It auto performs all these kind of activities here. And as I told you, with some simple kind of concept, like, say, for example, some kind of queries here, right? Okay, so it will perform the I mean, data processing or data analyzing kind of activities here. Okay, so that's how your Snowflake works here. I mean, so that is also the primary reason actually why organizations are moving to Snowflake. So it is very fast and it can handle bulk amounts of data, and the processing will be very, very faster here. Okay, and it can handle different kinds of data, and with simple SQL queries, like, say, for example, you can, like, for example, perform your activities on Snowflake. Okay, so when it comes to the case of connecting to Snowflake, right? So how do you connect to Snowflake? So I mean, just like you connect to your AWS or some kind of Azure kind of cloud vendor, right? Okay, so using some kind of web driver, okay, so or web client, I mean, so you can connect even to Snowflake in that way. The other kind of thing is, like, so for example, you do have the concept of SnowSQL. So where, I mean, like, so for example, it is built on top of Python platform, where you can, I mean, like, so for example, you can again use the concept of some kind of command line interface. You can come up with those kind of commands also. Just a minute, guys. Okay. Now, like, say for example, so these are the different kinds of connectors actually. And apart from this one, say for example, understand that you're having some kind of data which are residing in some other kind of third-party vendors or third-party applications here. Okay, and if at all you want to connect with those kind of things, right? Okay, so you're having some kind of native ODBC and JDBC drivers, so where you can connect to different other kind of vendors also. And apart from that one, you're having native connectors and some kind of REST API kind of softwares. Okay, so where you can interact with some kind of Python shell or some kind of Spark kind of scripting also. Okay, in order to connect to Snowflake. And apart from that one, so I mean, like, so for example, some other kind of third-party ETL tools like Informatica, Data Stage, and EDF. I mean, okay, so all, I mean, likewise, I mean, there are different other kinds of softwares. Okay, so through which you can connect to Snowflake. I mean, okay, so especially Snowflake is intended for, like, so for example, this major cloud platforms like AWS, Azure, GCP, and even, like, so for example, Oracle Cloud, and even, like, so for example, your IBM Cloud, and these kind of softwares it has been intended for. Okay, so if you look at the supported cloud platforms, your Snowflake is perfectly fine, and it is like, for example, offered as a software as a service kind of application, especially in your AWS, Azure, and GCP kind of things here. And apart from that one, today you have integration with Oracle Cloud and even IBM Cloud also, apart from these kind of cloud vendors. I mean, so when it comes to the case of data loading, right? So Snowflake supports loading data from files. Okay, so different kinds of I mean, data sources here internally. Like, say for example, I mean, like, say for example, you can move the data using Snowpipe kind of concept or SnowSQL kind of concept, where you can, I mean, process the data, where you can handle the data in different ways here. Okay, apart from that one, you do like, for example, you can load the data internally. I mean, if it is mounted on some kind of AWS, right, you can store it in Amazon S3 bucket, or like, say for example, if you're using Azure as your cloud vendor, right? Okay, so you can come up with some kind of I mean, blob storage here. Okay, so Azure has some kind of blob storage kind of containers here. Okay, so some kind of storage mechanisms. Okay, so where you can store the data here. Okay, so you can use Snowflake here. Okay, so again, like, say for example, again you can perform the same kind of activities using Google Cloud Storage also, GCP kind of platform also. Okay, so when it comes to the case of bulk loading and continuous data loading, okay, so continuous data loading is nothing but you do have the concept of CI and CD integration, just like you perform the process of CI and CD integration in Azure and even in AWS, right? Okay, so the same kind of activities we can perform using Snowpipe kind of activities in Snowflake. Okay, so especially these kind of Snowpipe kind of technique or this kind of activity is used for bulk loading of the data. Okay, huge volumes of data. If at all you want to perform some kind of batch processing or batch loading kind of things, you can go with this kind of concept here. And again, continuous data loading also you can load it here. Okay, so like, say for example, I mean, continuous loading, even incremental kind of loading, delta loading kind of activities, you can come up with these kind of concept here, Snowpipe kind of concept. And so if you look at the different kinds of clients, right, you're having different connectors here. So clients are nothing but different kinds of connectors, so through which you can connect to Snowflake and you can perform your activities here. Okay, so if you look at these kind of I mean, third party I mean, partner applications, right? So these are the different kinds of I mean, softwares through which it has some kind of integration apart from the cloud kind of activities. Now if you look at, right, okay, so you might have heard about Databricks, you might have heard about Informatica. Okay, so Google Looker, MicroStrategy, Power BI. Okay, second Tableau. Okay, so again Talent. Okay, so likewise, I mean, you might have heard about, I mean, even some other kind of I mean, software is also called as Stitch and Fivetran. Okay, so these are also into some kind of ETL kind of activities. Again, Matillion. Okay, so this is some kind of again which performs bulk loading in some kind of ETL processes. Okay, Fivetran, Matillion, and Stitch kind of softwares also. Okay, so likewise, I mean, so you're having I mean, partner, that means you're having integration with these kind of applications also. It supports, I mean, data loading from these kind of softwares also, these kind of applications also. Okay, now again, when it comes to the case of data lifecycle, right, So how does Snowflake process all this kind of data here? Okay, so that is the main concept here. So if you look at it, right, okay, so first of all, the Snowflake data cycle works using this kind of SQL commands here. As I told you, I mean, it is nothing like, unlike you perform some kind of activities in AWS and Azure. Okay, so where you maintain the data in one kind of storage medium, again, you build the concept of data pipelines. Again, you will be moving some kind of data from source to destination using the concept of data pipelines. You again maintain the concept of data lakes here. Okay, so all such kind of activities you don't need to perform separately here. Okay, so using simple kind of like for example this Snow SQL kind of concepts here. That means some kind of SQL queries concept here. You can maintain each and every kind of layers here. Okay, so when it comes to the case of organizing data, right? So what do you mean by organizing data here? So you maintain that data, you create that data, and you store that data, right? Okay, so you perform some kind of like for example SQL queries here. You people know that one, how to deal with those kind of things here. Again, like say for example, if at all you perform, if at all you want to query the data, you want to process the data, you want to analyze some kind of information, or you want to like say for example, come up with some kind of queries here. So what is that kind of thing here, guys? Self queries only, right? So if at all you want to store the data, you insert something into, or you perform some kind of copy data activities here. Okay, so the same kind of activities we perform in Snowflake only. It is nothing new here actually. Only the thing is that one, so it is built on cloud actually. It is mainly especially for cloud data warehouse solutions only. It is not just like your on-premises kind of solution. Okay, so again, like say for example, if at all you want to work with your data, right? So you apply different kinds of DML commands, on the data. When it comes to the case of SQL activities or SQL queries here, okay, the same kind of thing you can perform here also using Snow SQL kind of concept here. Again, when it comes to the case of if at all I don't want to, certain kind of data, I want to delete some kind of data, or I want to, don't want to save some kind of unwanted kind of data here. Okay, so again, you do have the concept of truncate, drop, delete, and all those kind of things, right? You can maintain the same kind of SQL queries here in order to deal with such kind of data here. Fine. So when it comes to the case of organizing the data, so again, we follow the different kinds of statements here. Okay, so SQL kind of sub kind of languages here, like DDL commands. So DML commands. Okay, so again, DRL commands, like how do you query that kind of data, or how do you like for example display that kind of data here. Okay, so we follow some kind of DRL kind of commands also. Again, in order to deal with the data, we're having different kinds of DML commands. Okay, so again, so use different kinds of commands here. Again, for removing the data, again, you're having say like, for example, truncate, drop, table, and delete. Okay, so which are used for different kinds of activities here. So likewise, in when it comes to the case of Snowflake, right? So you perform all this kind of activities in a simple way using some kind of SQL queries. Unlike in your AWS, or even if you take the case of Azure, right? Okay, so you perform using different kinds of things there. Okay, but here it is very, very simple. With very simple ways, we can maintain huge volumes of data. We can play with huge volumes of data. That is the main reason why organizations are moving to Snowflake kind of practices here, or they are adopting Snowflake kind of data base or data warehouse where they're maintaining huge volumes of data here. Fine. So when it comes to the case of tools and interfaces, so you're having the concept of web-based UI kind of interface here. SQL, as I told you before, you have the concept of command line interface also, where you can use Python code in order to, like for example, analyze the data there. Okay, so zero downtime. That means, like say for example, you don't maintain any kind of computing kind of resources here. So it's some kind of virtual warehouse management. Okay, so again, coming to the case of connectivity, you're having different kinds of connectors. So where you can analyze the data, you can like say for example, you can deal with the data in different ways here. So depend upon your requirement there. Okay, and again, it comes to the case of data import and export kind of things. So you can load any data that uses a support character encoding. So load data from compressed files. What do you mean by compressed file, guys? So in cloud databases, especially in the case of NoSQL kind of databases, right? You might have heard about Parquet files, Avro. Okay, so ORC kind of files there. Okay, so NoSQL kind of file formats. Okay, so you can play with those kind of file formats also here. Again, of course, you have the support for the modern kind of file system, that is CSV, comma separated value kind of files, Excel files, and those kind of things here. So you can load the data files in JSON formats. Of course, this is JSON is used a lot actually. And I told you, right, Avro, ORC, Parquet, and XML format. So these kind of things also, especially, I mean, this Avro, ORC, Parquet are used in big data kind of applications here. Fine. So you do have the concept of all this kind of loading activities when you perform bulk loading or continuous loading kind of activities. And when it comes to the case of continuous data loading from files, right? So you use the concept of Snowpipe here. So even in interviews also, they might be asking you, have you used Snowpipe pipe kind of concept here? Okay. So that means you need to say them, yes, of course, I have used Snowpipe concept. So they will be asking you, what is Snowpipe exactly? Okay. So when you want to perform continuous data loading, especially in the case of file formats, right, you use this concept here. Okay. So especially like, say, for example, some kind of batch processing will be using this concept here. Fine. So when you're dealing, like, say, for example, so either it can be from some kind of on-premises, you want to connect the data, okay, and you want to maintain that exact the same kind of things in Snowflake, or from Snowflake again you want to connect to your Azure Data Factory, or like, for example, Databricks or some kind of applications. So it supports all these kind of activities, guys. Okay. So coming to the case of data sharing, yes, of course, you can, data sharing is nothing but from Snowflake, if at all you want to integrate it with other kind of third-party applications like Databricks or Azure Synapse Analytics, Amazon Redshift, Google BigQuery, all these kind of activities you can do here. Okay. It can consume and even it can provide some kind of data sharing to those kind of, third-party applications also. Again, like, say, for example, in the case of failover kind of issues, right? Okay. So you need not worry about this failover kind of issues here, because automatically your data will be replicated in auto scale kind of feature. Yes, actually. Okay. So this is how, I mean, it performs some kind of, these are the important features, guys. I mean, how Snowflake performs here. So it's not like, for example, you need to perform any separately some kind of computing resources for which your applications might be running here. Okay. So automatically when you're loading the data, or when you're performing any kind of bulk loading kind of activities, your computing resources will be auto developed, and like, for example, it will perform the activities with simple kind of use cases here. Okay. So that means in a simple ways, you can deal with the data in Snowflake. Fine. So the main intention is bulk loading of the data, huge volumes of data, and connecting to different kinds of multi-cloud environments. It can be AWS, it can be Azure, it can be GCP, or whatever it is. Okay. So we have understood the concept of, see, if you look at here, it has support for different kinds of data connectors. Okay. So using the concept of this data connectors, right? So JDBC, ODBC kind of connectors. So it will be having integration with different kinds of, applications here. Fine. So if you look at BI kind of applications, all your modern kind of BI applications like Tableau, Power BI, everything, it has connectivity to those kind of things here. Again, when it comes to the case of data integration, your Informatica, Stitch. Okay, so this is also the modern ETL kind of tool here. Again, Hivo kind of data. Again, your SAP, TIBCO, IBM, Data Stage, Fivetran. Okay, so Click kind of software, ClickView. Okay, so ClickView is kind of software here. Okay, so likewise, I mean, so to name a few, I mean, so these are the different kinds of things. I mean, so you do have connectivity here. Okay, especially like, say, for example, whenever they want to migrate. Okay, so the on-premises kind of ETL activities, or the on-premises kind of data warehouse or database kind of solutions to cloud, right? So they might be considering Snowflake as their application there. Okay, so because after Snowflake, I can very easily manage the data in Snowflake. That is all the primary reason why today organizations are using this Snowflake kind of architectures here. So they might use different kinds of cloud vendors also, but again, it requires some computing powers. Again, I had to like, for example, use some other kind of activities there. But with Snowflake, I don't need to worry about those kind of things here. With very simple kind of use cases, I can perform those kind of activities here. Okay, so that's the main reason, guys, I mean, why we go for the concept of Snowflake here actually. Okay, now like, for example, so you can see different kinds of see, Snowflake is also apart from whatever we have discussed till now, right? Snowflake is also some other kind of application, so where the different data users can use this Snowflake in order to come up with their own kind of activities there. Like, say, for example, they can build the modern cloud data warehouse using Snowflake. They can build the concept of data lakes using Snowflake. Again, they can run their different kinds of data engineering activities like building data pipelines and whatever it is by connecting to Azure or by connecting to AWS or GCP there. Again, like for example, they can build they can come up with some kind of prediction models or clustering kind of activities. Okay, so some kind of machine learning models. Okay, so those kind of applications also we can use this kind of Snowflake data, the data which is present in Snowflake. So the process is same, guys. I mean, okay, so you extract the data. Okay, so you perform, I mean, like for example, the data here, that means the transformation rules on the data. And finally, when it comes to the case of loading, right? So in traditional data warehouse, you load the data into some kind of target database or enterprise kind of data warehouse. But here we use the concept of Snowflake because the reason is, see, here I'm playing with different volumes of data and different types of data. It can be structured, it can be semi-structured, it can be unstructured kind of data, and the different file formats also. Now, see, if I don't use this kind of software, right, what happens? I might have to deal with different kinds of data applications in a different ways. Again, for which I need different kinds of softwares. Again, I have to shell out money from my pocket. That means the organization point of view, I'm telling you. Okay. But if I have the more, I mean, like for example, a single platform where I can integrate all such kind of data, and if I can build all the different kinds of applications here, so would it be fine? I mean, so dealing with this kind of software here or this kind of application here. So that is also the primary reason. So why organizations are moving to Snowflake here. Again, after that one, the data consumers can be anyone. Okay, so they can be some kind of building some kind of reports and dashboards or coming up with some kind of real-time analytics on the data or Hadoop queries here. Okay, or performing some other kind of data activities here. Fine. So finally, so if you look at the Snowflake kind of thing, right? Okay, so I mean, so why Snowflake? If you look at their own kind of website, you will be getting a lot of answers from them. And if at all we want to come up with this kind of thing, right? So initially, like say for example, so they will be giving you $300 free credit, guys. Okay. So in terms of, I mean, sorry, $400. Okay. So Snowflake kind of credits they'll be giving you, and that too, it will be valid for 30 days. I mean, so after 30 days, I mean, so you have to pay for whatever the services you want to use it here. Fine. So the different kinds of third-party services, if at all you want to use, so you have to pay for those kind of things after the 30 days or after this $400 of free credits have been expired. Fine. So it is very simple to use, and it is a powerful kind of, I mean, cloud data warehouse, modern cloud data warehouse kind of solution here. Okay, guys. So the concepts which we'll be discussing as part of our course or whatever it is. So I'm just giving you a brief snapshot of this one. Anyways, in the next sessions, I'll be telling you some detailed overview of what concepts we'll be learning in detail. Okay, so here we'll be learning something about like introduction to cloud. So how Snowflake is different when compared to other kind of cloud vendors here. So like for example, again, what is the main concept of cloud data warehouse or how it is built actually? Okay, so like data lake concept, right? It is built on the concept of data lakes here. Okay, so the same concept I can build using Snowflake also. Okay, so especially it is used for bulk loading kind of data activities here. Again, we'll be trying to understand what exactly the Snowflake kind of architecture here and how the data loading and unloading in Snowflake is performed. What is the concept of Snowpipe here? Like it is used for continuous data loadings here. Again, Snowflake connectors, what are the different kinds of connectors here? How you can deal with the data in Snowflake apart from SQL kind of thing here. Okay. So again, what are the partner connectors with Snowflake? Partner connectors and nothing but I think I've shown you, right? So what are the different kinds of connectors here? Like okay. So these are the different connectors here. So these are the partner connectors here. Fine. Now after this one. Okay, I think we are dealing with this one, right? Okay. Now, how to handle the data here? Okay, so in different ways how to handle the data. So we'll be working on it practically, and data sharing and securing. Of course, all these things we'll be looking at it practically, guys. And again, cloning the data. So time travel and failsafe. Time travel and failsafe is nothing but how do you deal with like historical data here? Okay, so how do you capture the incremental kind of data here? How do you like for example maintain the historical kind of data here? Okay, again, query caching methods here. Again, say for example, clustering kind of activities, performance techniques, error handling and validations, data masking, Python integration, and again, how do you integrate it with AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud? How do you perform some kind of batch load or bulk load kind of activities by integrating your Snowflake with Azure? Okay, so all this kind of practical concepts will be working on, okay, in Snowflake. And let me tell you guys today, the thing is, like, say for example, if at all, see, merely processing data engineering skills also will fetch you a good job, but again, ADE, okay, so like, say for example, data engineering plus this Snowflake kind of concept will fetch you a very good amount of jobs and even good package, okay, so rather than the normal data engineers, okay, so it will give you very lot of packages, and even you can find separate jobs on Snowflake also, apart from the other kind of cloud platforms. But at least they will be asking you whether you know any kind of integration with AWS, Azure, or any kind of GCP kind of platforms here. Fine. So these are the different kinds of things. So in next session, we'll be learning in detail. Okay, so what exactly these things are. Like, for example, when it comes to the case of data loading, so what are the different kinds of techniques we'll be learning there? Okay, and what exactly, each and every concept we'll be learning in detail tomorrow. Fine. So
Yeah,
as of now,
so
if at all you people are having any questions, do let me know, guys.
yeah, I have a question. So what is the length of the course? How many times we'll be meeting? What is the time? What is the fees? Can you give those details also, please?
Okay. So coming to the case of duration, so it will be 45 days. So that is enough. Okay. So, but again, coming to the case of fee and the timing, everything. So please contact the admin. So again, or even the admin will get in touch with you. So with those kind of details. Okay. So technical kind of aspects and technical kind of things. So you can ask me. So we'll be dealing. Okay. So of course, so I also request you people to attend the further sessions also, so that you can again even come to know what are the further things we'll be learning also. Okay.
Okay, and there is some mention of project also. So what kind of project is it going to be?
So project in the sense, like as I told you, right, in real time, using the concept of this Snowflake. So how to perform the batch processing or bulk loading kind of activities, or how to integrate it with your other kind of cloud vendors like AWS or Azure or whatever it is. How to work on the concept of Snowpipe kind of concept. See, these are the concepts. If you go in real time, right? Okay, so the in interviews, so they'll be asking you these kind of questions. Have you worked on the concept of Snowpipe? So what is NoSQL? Okay. So what is have you worked on integrating it with any kind of other cloud vendors? So these are the common questions they'll be asking you in real time. And so we'll be working on these kind of things apart from this one. So each and everything.
Okay.
So we'll be working on practically. Okay. No, it's not theoretical, guys. So we'll be working practically. I'll be showing you each and everything in practical.
Okay, thank you. So will you be covering Matillion also at all, or
Yes, of
DBT or
course,
Matillion?
of course. You will be getting the material. You will be getting the
No,
recording.
Matillion.
Sorry?
Matillion and
Matillion, sorry.
yes,
Okay, so Matillion we don't discuss, but again, I'll be showing you some kind of integration with different other kinds of cloud vendors. Matillion, again, it's a separate kind of things. We don't deal with that one. As of now, you even don't require that one.
okay.
So Matillion, let me tell you, Matillion, Stitch, Fivetran, these are the future kind of, ETL kind of tools. Okay. So let me tell you, in near future, so you might be dealing with this kind of, applications also. Okay. So until now, people know only about Informatica or data stage or some other kind of ETL tools. But again, in the near future, so these are the open some kind of open, there are even open kind of data applications also. And if at all, you come to Matillion, these are the licensed kind of softwares also. So, but they are used in big data applications in order to deal with huge volumes of data. Okay, so this will be fine. You can see these applications in near future.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Shyam Prasad. So Snowflake working on real-time projects. So as I told you, whatever we perform in real time, like bulk loading, so batch processing, okay, so integrating it with AWS or Azure, okay. So these kind of concepts we will be working on real time. Fine. And apart from that one, so Python integration and some other kind of activities will be showing you. So we'll be learning all those kind of activities. See, the main thing is when it comes to purely technical aspects, right? So unlike, like, say, for example, AWS or Azure, right? So first of all, what you do, you configure each and everything here. Like, say, for example, even if it is a VM, or even if it is any kind of database, or even if it is any kind of thing here. But here in Snowflake, you don't have such kind of admin kind of activities here. You don't perform those kind of activities here. Okay. So like, I mean, directly it is some kind of query kind of concept. You will be performing those kind of activities. So once I show you practical, so you can understand every concept here. Fine. So anything else, guys? So guys, let me tell you, individually, you are having a lot of jobs on Snowflake also. But again, when you compare, I mean, when you, like, for example, if you have data engineering plus Snowflake as the concepts in your resume, right? So you will be getting even a better package than individual like Snowflake and even data engineering. Okay, so you'll be getting more package that one. Okay, so because today Snowflake is used as a modern cloud database and cloud data warehouse kind of I mean, activities here. So that is why if you know this one, I mean, it will be an added feather in your cap. Okay, so we'll be getting much more package than whatever you are working right now. So because see, in near future, you might see all this kind of activities as a mandatory kind of thing. Okay, so someone has spoken me something about Matillion. Okay, so Fivetran, Stitch, I mean, you can see all this kind of things also near future. I mean, okay. Fine. So any other questions, guys? So we'll be working practically and we'll be working on some kind of real-time scenarios also. Okay. So, and we'll be working on some kind of real-time projects also. Okay. So after the completion of this course, and then even you can project them in your resumes also. Like, I mean, how do you worked on? I mean, if anyone asks you, okay, so what activities you performed using Snowflake? I mean, so how did you use Snowflake, or why did you use Snowflake? I mean, okay, so if you can answer these kind of things, so it will be enough. I mean. Okay, so anything else, guys? Any doubts or any questions? I mean,
So the class
okay.
timing is going to be this,
Sorry, sorry.
like the way the time we had class now. Is it going to be the class timing?
Yeah, class timing we'll be discussing. Of course, it will be the same timing only.
Okay. That,
Fine, we can start off by 8 p.m. or 8:30. That's fine. Okay, so fine, guys. So let's meet tomorrow then. Okay. Thank you, everyone.